Procul His is the second full-length album from Berlin, Germany-based death metal trio Drowned, and we could qualify that with both thrashing death metal and death doom metal. Most often, this band is characterized as death doom, especially based off of their 2014 debut, Idola Speakus. And that's not where they started. This band has been around since 1992. The guitarist T, or T1 as they're calling him now, is kind of the one who's been behind it the longest, and he's kind of incorporated different styles over the years. The peak of their first period is really not important to our discussion, so if you listen to anything beyond 1998, you'll hear more of a death doom or a death doom style, or a death metal style most would appreciate if you're a fan of Necros Christos. And in fact, the main fellow from Necros Christos was on one of their demos back in 2006, and that's where I discovered them. So I think it's important provenance to at least listen to that demo tape, and also to know that these folks are involved with bands like Essence and the Ruins of Bebrast and whatnot. And so they're active with this band all that often. It's been 10 years in development for the second record, but they've obviously been doing other things. So their sound is a mixture of atmospheric death doom metal, just pure old school death metal done in their own way, and it really revolves around T1, or whatever you'd call him, his guitar work, which is a big part of their sound. So we'll see what else is interesting about this group, but let's listen to a clip and just So the morbid atmosphere of this group is, to some it will feel like a relic of the past. It will feel like the early 2010s, almost the cavern core style at first. But you will hear a bit of incantation, which is inherent to their sound and their approach to the riff. But that's not all there is to it. And they haven't really been playing cavern core so much as they've been playing a lot of tremolo picked style of riffs to guide movements between one another, and they offer enough riff changes and pace changes and different styles incorporated within what they're doing, where you shouldn't come to that generalization anytime soon, especially not on the second record. Like I mentioned before, that their 2014 record was one of my favorites that year. It was up there, I think, at number 5 back in 2014, and I long wanted a sequel to that record, but I never really expected it. This seemed like a kind of band where it was just whenever they felt like it, whenever the inspiration hit, and you couldn't really have expected what this record was. But it does pretty much carry on exactly the sound of Idola Speakus, with a lot of new developments, and I think those are going to be very subtle at first at face value. This record, it probably took me like 10 listens to start like getting an idea of what was so different about this record, because the production values are fairly similar. The similar level of reverb is set upon the sort of spatial the noise and the presence of the record, and so it feels very familiar immediately. The immersion hits pretty quickly, and you're just going down the tunnel with them. And I found that was exciting enough to where I really didn't care how different it was. I was just glad to be listening to a new Drowned album, as a big fan of the last one. Though eventually you find that there are more riffs, there's a faster pace, there's even a little bit more technical approach just to the way that they're sewn together. They're relying less on certain types of riffs and now incorporating some 80s death metal interests, clearer vocal style. I really didn't need a lyric sheet for this record after a few listens. I understood what they were saying for the most part. There's a couple of inflections that I didn't pick up on very quickly, but there's a pretty strong harmony or dynamic felt between the aggression and the thoughtful meandering style that they're known for at this point. So the meandering part of it does take over throughout, but it doesn't dominate the record. Like I said, there's just a lot more riffs on this record, and that's why I'm pretty excited about it, and was kind of knocked out of my seat once I sat down and took stock of how much they put into this record. And that should make sense. It's been 10 years. It's a fine sophomore record that extends. Everything that was great about that first record is here, and they just kind of get to it a bit more quick. They didn't start out with the doomed intro. They work through it over the course of the record, and it starts out a little bit more exciting and to the point of the riffs. So really well balanced and composed, really classic style, just a great record overall, and one of my favorites of January here in the early months. Um, Early part of the year at least. So very high recommendation here. This is probably my number two favorite of the month. I think we'll have to see how that shakes out. But a great death metal record if you're a fan of the classic style. There's something new to add here if you're a fan of anything from Cruciamentum to, you know. Anything else in that style, Necros Christos, whatever, you're going to be a fan of this record, and you should definitely go back and check out some of their past discography to sort of compound that identity the band is still wielding very effectively. So check that out. It comes out on the 26th here on Friday, and go ahead and read my review for more of my thoughts and to check out a couple of songs. The Master. Cultivation of death reverts